If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free, and there's nothing like free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other platforms. And the best part, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
You are listening to See Simple Secrets podcast. I want to welcome you all to today's episode, which is about finding gratitude. And I've been working on this topic maybe about a week now because I was in one of those spaces where it's like, it's not like you're ungrateful for the place that you're in, but you're just trying to get to a certain point. And I think sometimes it's difficult for us to see past where we're trying to get to and just to kind of appreciate that spot where we are right now. And I just wanted to kind of talk about this topic today because I know it's a place that a lot of us find ourselves in. And I know I'm very hard on myself. And a lot of times it's like, instead of congratulating myself for the accomplishments that I've made, I'm always looking towards what's the next step, where's the next place I need to be, instead of just being content about where I am and celebrating where I am at that particular moment. And then I think sometimes when that happens, we kind of find ourselves in a place where it's almost like just kind of bratty, like, yeah, I got all of these things going on in my life, but it's not enough. And I never want to be in that spot because just being alive is enough. I know that we're always striving for something better, and that's what makes us want to continue living and to continue pushing forward, because we know that there's a greater result coming or a greater end than our beginning. But at the same time, we have to stop and just really appreciate that spot where we are. And what kind of made me want to do this episode, besides the fact that I was feeling that way myself, is that I follow Sephora on Instagram, and they have this series that they do, which is called We Belong to Something Beautiful. And I like watching the videos just because it's interesting seeing the different stories of the people that they put on there, which are either customers or people that actually work for them. And it's just really interesting because the stories that they tell, like, for example, one story was about a young lady that had been able to see all of her life, and she got to be about 16 years old, and all of a sudden she lost her eyesight. She couldn't see anymore. And I know over the years, especially with me being in that beauty industry as well, I see a lot of people really like critical of, or over the years I've heard of a lot of people being pretty critical about makeup. And you know, it's always like, oh, well, what's up under that mask, or you don't need to do all those colors, you're doing too much, I like a natural woman. I could go on and on and on. And what people don't realize is that makeup is not necessarily about others' perception of you. It's about your perception of yourself and what makes you feel beautiful and what makes you feel comfortable to be in your own skin. And this young lady was saying how even with her being blind, she still takes that time to do her makeup and go into the store because she still wants to look and feel a certain way, and she knows that doing these things make her feel better. And she was at a point where she was super depressed and didn't even want to live anymore, because imagine being a teenager that can't see in today's time. Like, everything is centered around technology and your phone and Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, all of these different apps. And imagine not being able to see all those things. And then to top it off, this young lady is a swimmer and she's won championships and everything. And so she talked about how getting back into makeup and just preparing herself for the day, and then getting back into swimming, even with her being blind, getting back into training and starting to do those things that she was passionate about again. It gave her the courage and the strength to go ahead and continue living. And as much as people might say, oh, it's just makeup, but those things really have an impact on the way a person feels. I know when my grandmother was going through chemotherapy, she would always get up and get dressed and things like that, because she would always say, look good, feel good. She'd get up, put on her rouge, as she called it, her red lipstick, and get ready for the day, because it made her feel good about herself and it made her want to continue on and have the strength to continue on. And so there was another story that I was watching on this particular day when I was kind of in that funk, so to speak. And this story was about a young lady that had developed, I want to say it was bacterial meningitis, and it started attacking her limbs. And she had lost her arms and her legs because of this disease. Like, one day she was fine, and the next day she was in the hospital fighting for her life because this disease was just attacking her entire body. And when I heard the story and watched that video, it just really, it moved me, because when we're in those places, I don't want to say that you look at someone else's, what someone might say, misfortune, and then say, oh, well, that could have been me, and I'm grateful that it wasn't. I don't want to say it in that respect at all, but I think that it's in fact the opposite, that you look at the fact that a person is able to be this courageous. Like, I don't know if I could be that strong, and I've been through a lot of things, but I don't know if that would be a battle that I could win. I don't know, and I wouldn't want to be in that situation to find out. But when you look at other people and the things that they've been through and how they persevere and how they survive, it gives you this renewed strength to say, if they can survive this type of thing, then I know that this battle that I'm fighting is a battle that I can win. And in more recent events, I know last night I was kind of devastated to find out about Chadwick Boseman passing away. And when I read his biography and what they were writing about him, and how they said he had been battling colon cancer for 4 years, and then I thought about all of the movies that he had recently done, and it just made me, even though some people look at movies the same way that they look at beauty industry, it's just like, oh, it's nothing. It's just entertainment. But it's far from being just entertainment. You're telling people's stories. You're almost a part of history, because you're reenacting things that happened, and because you're telling this story, someone else that was not alive when this person was alive or has not experienced these things, they're able to experience it through your reenactment. So it's like you're a storyteller, it's like you're a historian. And I don't think that people necessarily think of it that way, but that's another way to think of it. And just to think about the lives that he represented as an actor, like James Brown, like Jackie Robinson, some of the most well-known people in African American history. And not just African American history, just history, American history in general. And the fact that he acted in, I want to say, the top grossing movie of all time. Or if it wasn't the top, it was one of the top. And it's like, you did all of these things, you accomplished all of these things while battling cancer. Can you imagine? And I know that has to be an encouragement for those people that are still living with cancer, because it's like, if this young man was able to accomplish all of these things while still battling cancer, I can get up out of the bed. I can fight another day. I can appreciate the little things that we so often take for granted. I know one day recently, since we've been working from home, I was sitting in the backyard and I had bought some lawn chairs and things like that, because I said, I'm just going to start sitting outside. There's not many places open. There's not much that we can do. But one thing I can do is enjoy nature. And so I was sitting out there, and I cannot tell you the last time that I had looked at a cloud and found a picture in it, or just looked up at the sky in general. Just took the time to just sit in the backyard or lay in the backyard and look up at the sky. And it's something that hovers over us daily. And so few of us actually take the time to even appreciate it, or just sit there and just lift up our eyes to the sunlight and just feel the warmth. Close your eyes and feel the warmth that's coming from it. Or looking at the flowers and just appreciating the flowers and appreciating everything that we see around us, the beauty that God created. How many of us actually take the time and just are grateful and thankful for those things? Not many of us, because it's always about the next thing. Even in our lives, it's like, if you're over 30, you're not married, you don't have kids, it's like, what are you doing with your life? Oh, well, I did all of these other things. Oh, what about this? You failed in this area. And you might not feel like a failure, but by the time people get done putting their thoughts on you and their feelings on you, next thing you know, you're feeling like, oh man, I'm 30 and I haven't met these milestones, so I haven't made any accomplishments, or my accomplishments aren't enough. And so it's just like, we have to get to the point where we can't let other people's thoughts, we can't let other people's actions, and we can't even let our own thoughts and our own actions get in the way of us finding gratitude and being thankful for the life that we have. Because only the Lord knows. We don't know when our last day is going to be. So every day you should be living that day like it's your last day, because you never know if it is going to be or if it's not. And I know we say it all the time, but how many of us really do it? How many of us really start the day by saying, today I want to make an impact. Today I want to be a blessing to someone. Today I want my light to shine. And I want to be able to make someone smile. And this day I want to appreciate all of the goodness that's there, because there's so much negativity. Negativity is on your left, it's on your right, it's all around you, it's everywhere that you turn. And some days I just have to take a break from social media, because when I say it's like rant after rant after rant after rant. And to me, if you're ranting all of the time, you're just not taking the time to find anything to be grateful for. And it really puts you in a negative place that you don't want to be in. So, those are my thoughts about that. But I know in my earlier teaching days, I had a student, and I feel like I will never forget this student, because he made such an impact on me. And it's like almost every time that I talk about this student, I come to tears, because he was such a strong individual. And I always wonder what happened to him. And maybe one day I will be able to run into him in the future, because that does happen. You know, as teachers, you run into your students, you run into their parents over the years. And so this one particular student, I believe that he was born with cerebral palsy. And so I want to make sure that I say this correctly, but basically he wasn't able to put both feet flat on the floor, and as well as his arms. Like, he didn't have full function in his limbs. And so I had he brought one of his mother's notebooks to school. And in this notebook that he brought, it was a paper that his mom had written, where she basically was calling her son her hero. And I don't know how many people would think of that as being unfortunate. Like, oh, that's so unfortunate that this boy was born like that. But when I say, I don't think that this young man ever felt that he was unfortunate. And I think he had great parents. I'm not going to say he didn't have great parents at all, but I don't think that it necessarily came from his parents. I think that it's just something, some people are just born with this greatness on the inside of them. And I'm not saying that everyone is not born with it, but it's just like, you know, when you have a Kobe Bryant, for example, or a Chadwick Boseman, or a Whitney Houston, or we can go down the list. You know, when you have a person that is very special and that is destined for greatness. And not to say that everyone doesn't have greatness inside of them, but everyone doesn't go in the history books. And I mean, I guess that's just the best way to say it. So this young man, you know, his mother looked at him as being her hero. And I could see why. Like, he got up every morning. When I say I never saw this child without a smile on his face, he was always smiling. He was always happy, joyful. He always had friends. Like, I've seen children over the years just be sad. Oh, I only have one friend. They have 5 friends. I only have one friend. He had his best friend, and that was good enough for him. It didn't matter if he had 20 friends or one friend. He was happy with the one friend. Like, this young man just personified gratitude. And so I had read the paper about his mother looking at him as her hero, and it was just really touching to me because I felt the same way about the young man. And so one day we went on a field trip, and our field trip was to the skating rink. And so I was extremely nervous. He wanted to put on some skates, and of course I didn't want to tell him no, but I'm like, are you sure that that's what you want to do? Are you positive that that's what you want to do? And he's like, yeah, that's, you know, I'm gonna skate. That's what I'm gonna do. So I'm like, okay. So I let him get his skates. I helped him put them on. We laced them up. And when I say that this young man got out there on these skates, and of course he was falling and he cried, but he got up and he did it again. He fell and he cried and he got up and did it again. And when I say next thing I know, he was going around that skating rink so fast. And of course I can't skate like that. But I just think about, even sometimes, I know I've watched videos where, you know, there was this one video where a dad was doing gymnastics with his daughter, and he had her feet in his hands. And I saw people's comments up under there, like a lot of mothers saying, oh, that couldn't be me. You know, if that was me, I would tell him, put her down, and this, that, and the other. But sometimes we can get in our own way, and sometimes we can get in our children's way. We can get in our students' way, because in my mind, it's like, hey, there's some arcade games over there. You could play those while we skate. Or there's something else, you could do some other activities. But I didn't have it in my heart to tell this young man no. But how many people would have stopped him and said, no, you can't do it? And I just think we have to get out of that. We have to get out of telling people what they can't do. We have to get out of telling people the timeline in which they need to do things within. Because that person's timeline is not your timeline. They're on their own time. You're on your time. There's other actors and actresses. Look at Morgan Freeman. He's been acting for how many years? 80-something years old, still memorizing a script. Cicely Tyson. There's some people that get to that 80 and 90 mark and they're still going. But then there's some people where it's like, you gotta accomplish everything you need to accomplish by 43. There's other people that have to accomplish everything that they need to accomplish by 33. And somebody else might accomplish everything that they have to accomplish at 13. So just we have to be grateful. We have to be mindful of these things. And because we don't know how long we have, because we don't know when our last day is going to be, we need to start being more grateful. I could spend every day worrying about Donald Trump and what he's doing, and I'm not saying that he's not wrong or anything like that, but if I spent all of my day on Twitter seeing what he's ranting about on CNBC, seeing what he's speaking about, watching his every move, and then I gotta go on Facebook and commentate, and go on Twitter and commentate about it. How many hours do we waste in a day? How much time do we waste on a daily basis doing things that are not gratifying our spirits? Doing things that are not bringing us joy, doing things that are not helping us in our lives at all. It's doing nothing for us. How much time do we spend doing those things? Too much time, in my opinion. It's so many days where I literally have to just step away, because technology at this point is literally, it's just, our lives revolve around technology. And I could be on the computer from sun up to sundown if I allow myself to be, to the point where I'm stepping away because my eyeballs are hurting. It's only so much you can do. And you do not know how good it does you just to get out in the air and feel the breeze. Just to be around the people that you love. Just to be grateful for that time that you have. Because you never know when you're not going to have it anymore. None of us could have predicted what's going on right now. Not one of us saw it coming. Not one of us. We had no idea. And I want to say in March, maybe a couple days before everything was shut down, I was trying to get up to the nursing home to see my grandfather. I had not been. And I think maybe I had gone the week before, but this particular week I didn't go. And the next time I looked up, the nursing home was closed, schools were closed, and I was no longer able to go. And who knew that it would go on for this long? It's almost September now. And we still have not been able to get into the nursing home. We've had outdoor visits where we can't kiss them, we can't touch them, but we can at least see his face, or see half of his face. But it's like, I'm so thankful that before it all happened, like a month before everything happened, his birthday came up, and I had told everybody, let's go ahead, let's go up to the nursing home and meet for his birthday. Bring some cake and pizza and chicken, and we'll just go up there and celebrate with them. But who would have known that we'll be going to September? And so It's so important for us to take time for those things, because those are the things that we always let go to the wayside. We don't let our work go to the wayside, but we let our family, we let our friends, we let our social life, all of those type of things that you need that regenerate you. Riding a bike, going outside, taking a walk, getting in the breeze, feeling the air, looking at the flowers, looking at the clouds, looking at the stars at night. All of those things are things that regenerate you and keep you going. But we get so busy that those are the first things that we cut. When we don't have time, we cut out, oh, I can't make it to that birthday party. Oh, can't make it to this, can't do this, can't do that. Gotta do my work. And we miss out on the things that are important. And then we look up and you can't reclaim those moments. Those are times that you can't reclaim. Like, I was thinking the other day, because when I was in high school, I had the option to go to Africa. And me being a teenager, I knew that my parents didn't have it. And so I didn't even ask. And it came almost time to go on the trip, where everybody was starting to pay on the trip, and then auditioned. And my choir director said to me, why aren't you going to Africa? And I said, well, I knew that my family didn't have the money, so I didn't even audition, didn't even try. And so when it came time to go, she said, well, I wish you would have said something, because we could have raised the money for you or anything. And I look back at that time, because now we don't know how many years it's going to be before we're going to be able to go to those types of places again, where people will feel safe, or where places will be opened back up. So you have to take advantage of those opportunities when they're available to you, because you never know. It's like, I was trying to go to a music fair like Lollapalooza for 99 million years, for at least the past 5 years. And every single time I'm waiting on a group of people. Do y'all want to go? You want to go? You want to go? Okay, let's put a group together. Oh, they providing payment plans on the tickets. If you don't have the money up front, you can do a payment plan. And then year after year, nope. And now it's like, is there ever going to be a Coachella or a Lollapalooza again? Or how many years is it going to take for those type of events to happen again? So, for all I know, that time has passed away. And so, I say all that just to say, we have to be grateful, and we have to take advantage of those moments when they are there, because you never know when they're no longer going to be there. And you don't want to ever have a regret that you didn't do something because of the money, or because everybody else didn't want to do it. You want to be able to say that you accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish. You did those things that you wanted to do. You enjoyed yourself. What did they say? I can't think of what it is. You did the event and you bought the t-shirt or something like that. Something like that. I can't think of what the saying is, but, or been there, done that, got the t-shirt, something like that. But you want to be able to say that you did everything that you felt was in your purpose to do. And then if you feel like you've done everything that you're in your purpose to do, then you need to just be grateful for that. Celebrate yourself. Take the time to love on yourself, because it's only one you. And so the things that you came in this world to do, there's not one other person that can do those things. And if they can do those things, there's not one other person that does those things like you. And that's what makes you unique. So those are my thoughts on just being grateful and finding gratitude, just because it's a pleasure to be alive. It's a pleasure to be able to feel. It's a pleasure to be able to breathe. And I'm asthmatic, so I know if you've ever been in a situation where you could not breathe, then you definitely know what I'm talking about. So every breath that you take, when you breathe in deeply and you breathe out, and you can feel that air filling up in your lungs, because I know what it's like when you are so winded, you can't even walk, you can't even stand. I had to be wheeled from the lobby into the back and they had to give me a breathing treatment immediately before I could even really fill out all the paperwork. I couldn't even fill out the paperwork without getting something in my lungs, some air in my lungs. So if you ever know what that feels like, and if you don't, be grateful that you don't know what it feels like, because it's not a pleasurable experience, but it is survivable. And I think that's one of the main points that I want to emphasize, is that there's a lot of things that we are going to experience in life and have already experienced in life. But if you have survived them and lived to tell about it, that's a reason to be grateful. And so I just want to end this episode by saying that we all need to get to that place, whatever it takes for you to get there. That's a journey that you need to take in order to stop looking at what you don't have and what you have not done, and start celebrating those things that you have done, and start enjoying the life that you have, because you never know when you won't have it anymore. So I want to thank you all for listening once again. You can follow me on Instagram at C Simple Secrets, or on Twitter, C Simple Secrets. And I look forward to the next episode. Bye-bye.